Hey everybody, VR Gaming Fan here. A lot of people who have never tried VR make a lot of comments about VR, that it's a gimmick, that it's just another Wiimote, just another Kinect, whatever. All I can say is, if you're making any comment along those lines, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't get it. You can't get it unless you've actually tried it. And if you haven't tried it, then why are you opening your mouth at all? I mean, it just makes you look ignorant. But I've used VR. I used VR years back when it wasn't nearly as good as it is today, and I knew it was a game changer. And I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for the technology to catch up to the concept. I tried the Oculus Rift DK1, and although it caused massive motion sickness for me, it still was just a game-changing experience. And if you go around YouTube and you check out the people that have gotten an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive, and they're using these machines, they are absolutely elated, and they'll tell you the same thing. It is a game changer. It is, it can't be described to someone who hasn't tried it. No more than I can describe the color red to someone who was born blind. There is no common ground, no common language that we can use to discuss the experience, because it is completely outside your realm of experience. You'll also notice that if you look at all of the games that are coming out, not all of the games, but most of the games that are coming out for VR, they're very simplistic. The graphics are terrible. You're looking at basically like Space Invaders Galaga level video games. And yet all of the people that are playing these games in VR are going nuts over them, preferring them to AAA 2D titles. And it's because the immersiveness of the experience just shatters all the rules. It's a completely different world. Unless you have tried VR, and I strongly encourage you do. I don't mean, go out and buy a $600 or $800 VR kit just to try it. Find somewhere, a computing show, wherever, and try VR, because when you do try it, you will be convinced. It is a completely game-changing experience. Once you've experienced VR, you don't want to go back to flat screen 2D gaming of any type. The games that I've seen, and keep in mind, most of these games are thrown together by indie developers, because there's not enough of a market for AAA developers to pour money into. At best, you'll get a port of a 2D game into VR from a AAA publisher, and ports, they're always a little wonky. And in the case of VR, a bad port means you throw your guts up. But you look at the games like Brookhaven Experiment, right? The graphics, they're terrible, right? The gameplay is totally simplistic. If you were to play that game in a 2D flat monitor format, you wouldn't give it the time of day. You'd like 30 seconds, you'd be like, and I'm out of here. But you play that game in VR, and it is a stunning and terrifying experience. People are drenched in sweat. They're terrified. They're panicked. They're truly immersed. And as far as nitpicking people have about like the screen door effect and things like that, yes, if you nitpick and really stare at the individual pixels, you can pick them out. The graphics quality of the hardware isn't as good as if you got a 4K monitor or anything like that. But the thing is, again, it's about the immersiveness. The performance doesn't matter as long as it meets a certain minimum level in order to trigger immersiveness and not trigger motion sickness. It doesn't matter. It's one of the reasons why everybody who's comparing the various headsets, they gloss over resolutions and pixels and things like that, because it doesn't matter. What matters is it immersive? And all of the major headsets that are out, they are, as far as the screen display capabilities, they're all perfectly immersive. So you get into the experience, the game gets going, and when that first menu comes up when you're selecting things, you might be like, oh, this looks kind of a little grainy or whatever. But then the experience gets going, and you completely forget about all that. Your brain is excellent at filling in gaps, smoothing edges, and things like that. For example, there's a blind spot in the middle of both of your eyes, and yet when you look around, you see no blind spot. Also, your eyes see the world upside down, and yet you don't see the world upside down. Your brain automatically corrects these things, and your brain does the same thing in VR. It is so immersive. It takes even the simplest games and turns them into incredible experiences. So, if you think that VR is a gimmick, or the motion controllers for VR are a gimmick, and wow, are you way off base on that one. Everybody who plays VR without the motion controllers and with the motion controllers, hands down prefers the VR experience with the motion controllers. It is so much more natural and intuitive and immersive, which is the most important thing. So someone says, I read this one comment on one video from someone who really clearly did not get VR. They said that the motion controllers for the Vive were, it was VR for children, VR for kids. It was like the Wiimote. It's a gimmick. And wow, they just totally did not get it. So basically, if you've tried VR, you already know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure you're already either wishing you could have a headset, or you've already got a headset, or you're saving up for a headset, or whatever. I'm very anxiously waiting for mine. If you haven't tried VR, try it. Until you have, you just cannot have any idea what you're talking about, and you have no idea what it is you're missing. And I'm looking forward to you joining the party with the rest of us. Talk to you next time.